So the meeting is being recorded now. Let me go over the exam. As I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we have other things also to do. And I will answer questions that you have in general about the exam. If you have specific issues with the way I graded your work, you can email me. I will certainly look at those things, but I don't want to do it in the general setting. So let me share the screen here. So here we have these multiple choice questions. So there are some, these are fairly straightforward questions. I don't want to spend much time on those. But as you see the questions, if you have anything come to your mind, comments or question wise, let me know. Right. You might want to look at your answers to these auto-graded questions where you have to type in something. If there was a spelling mistake or something, then I wouldn't mind giving you credit for those. But I haven't looked at everybody's answers to all these questions. For example, there was a student who had misspelled serializable, flipping 2 letters, but that's just fine. I mean, one frequent source of difficulties with the throws clause, it is part of a method or constructor header, not, it doesn't associate with a class name. Then this is the biggest chunk of the multiple choice questions. There was one question that I wanted to spend some time on. I would be happy to answer questions about the other ones too, but let's talk about this question just as a representative question, as well as because it covers a lot of concepts. And I also think this is the hardest question in the whole exam. So let's see what this one is. We have 2 classes B and C, and this doesn't compile correctly. B v1 equals new C. What do we know about, what can we tell about the relationship between B and C? Well, can we say that C extends B? If C extends B, then B is a supertype of C, and this would be legal. So this is not true. Can we say that B extends C? If B extends C, this would definitely be illegal, but this would be illegal even if B did not extend C. It could have been that B is totally unrelated to C. If you write public class B and then begin the bracket, end the bracket, and write public class C, you still cannot write this. So this itself not being compiling doesn't mean that B extends C. Do we know that C is not a subclass of B? If C is a subclass of B, then this would compile correctly. So if C is, it cannot be the case that C is a subclass of B. So we know that C is not a subclass of B, that is for sure. And that is the right answer. B is not a subclass of C. Well, again, there need not be any, B could be a subclass of C, and still, then this would still be not compiling correctly. So this requires a little bit of careful thought, this particular question. The other
Professor?
question, yes.
Are we able to see our exams?
I thought I had made that available to you. You're still not able to access it?
look like it.
It doesn't look like that? Okay, let me go ahead and give me a second. Let me go ahead and see if I can make it. I thought I had made it accessible this morning. Obviously, I wasn't. I had overlooked something there. Let me take a look. Exam one, restrictions. You should be able to access it. I don't see anything wrong with it. Is
Can't
nobody?
access it either.
Um, because there is no.
We can't also access the class exercises neither. We can't,
That
you know,
should
to
be-
check our answers.
Yeah, the class exercises you can't access.
No, we
No.
never can.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't think I've ever been able to do that either.
Well, there is no.
I can see my class exercises.
There are no restrictions on any of these things. Actually, I can show you here what I have. Okay, let me see. What are you trying? I mean, are you looking at your attempt or something, or I don't know how you access those things.
Yeah, you click on the attempt.
Yeah. So are you not able to access it through your attempt for exam one?
No, it just says what our score was, and that's it. We can't actually view anything.
Oh, it could be that I suppressed the answers. That may be the only thing. Okay, let me take a look at that. Oh, yes, I understand now. It is the view. Okay, yeah, I had forgotten about that aspect. Yeah, you should be able to access it now.
Here we go.
Yeah, that should
Yeah,
be.
because when I was trying to study for the exam, I also couldn't see the class exercises either to figure out, you know, what I got wrong.
Yeah,
I can access the answers in my class exercises. I'm not sure why other people can't.
Okay, let me take a look at the class exercises. When you have such issues, you should let me know because I might have forgotten to do something. Yeah, class exercise one looks fine. Let me look at all the class exercises. Class exercise two, it looks fine. Three. It looks fine to me. Four. I don't see any issues with any of these. So I don't know what is going on. I can see what was wrong with exam one because I hadn't allowed the answers to be seen, but now it should be possible. So I don't know what.
Yeah, I can get into exam one now.
Okay. How about others? I mean, one of you said you couldn't get into the class exercises. The other one said you could. I think you should check that and tell me if you're not able to access those. Because I wanted those to be accessible to all of you. All the quizzes that you have taken after the deadline, I wanted them to be accessible to you. That was my intention.
Okay, I'm not sure what was the problem before, but I can get into the class exercises now, but I couldn't before the exam.
Yeah, I haven't changed anything, so I don't know what is going on with those things. Yeah. Yeah. Then let's see here. Coming back to that. Is it this one? Yeah. So I'm not sure what other question I wanted to go over, but if you have any questions about any of these questions with the way, I mean, obviously here there is no, they're all automatically graded. So, but if you have questions about why something is the right answer or something like that, you know, you can ask me now or you can ask me later. It doesn't matter.
I think I had a question 17 incorrect. I said C, but
Okay.
it was A.
Yeah, right. Let's look at that. If the statement I1x equals new A, then A definitely implements I1. Otherwise, you couldn't do that. I2 extends I1 is not correct. If I2 extends I1, then you wouldn't be able to write I2y equals x. Because if it were the other way, if I1 extended I2, then if choice B was I1 extends I2, then that would be right. Let me explain briefly. So let me get my tablet so that I can write. Give me a minute. Let me connect this up. No, I have to remember the question now. Okay, let's see here. We have A, it's a class. Then we have I1. If A implements I1, then you definitely can write I1. What was the question? I1 x equals new A. Then that would be fine. Because anything that is of type A is also of type I1. But we also are saying I2y equals x. If this is true, it could be only because I1 is a subtype of I2. So it has to be like this.
Oh, okay.
You see the issue?
That makes more sense. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Professor,
Yes.
question 9.
Okay.
Um,
1 second. 9. Yes.
I typed in java.lang.*. Is that still enough to get credit?
Yeah, I will give it to you. The reason being java.lang is the actual name of the package. That is why I said do not put any import statements. So I really meant don't put any stars either, but I will give you credit because that is, you know, the package name. Package name is not, it doesn't really include star, by the way. You should
Okay.
know that, okay? But I will give you credit for it because you know that it is java.lang. But writing lang is not enough. Java dot has to be there in the answer, but
It is there.
yeah, but you should know that star is not part of the package name. That is
Okay.
simply saying all the classes and interfaces inside. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. Or if you misspelled lang by putting, maybe flipping some letters or something, I don't mind giving credit for that. But simply writing lang won't be enough. Okay. Because it has to be qualified with Java dot. Okay, then let's look at the two questions where you had to write programs, unless you have some comments about this part. Okay. All right, then let me go ahead and open up the Eclipse code. Right. All right, let's look at the Eclipse programs here. It's a pain sometimes. It's the first one was implementing the square interface using a rectangle. So the only, okay, before that, you need to write that public class my square implement square, which almost everyone did. I think there was one place where one student who did not write that part. Then the only field you should have in this whole class is this rectangle object or reference, rectangle. You are implementing a square entirely using this rectangle, nothing else. If you had another field here, I took off half a point. So here is the constructor given the X and Y coordinates of the top left corner and the side. I create a rectangle object with X, Y, side and side for both height and width. Then shift would change the location to whatever the current location is plus the X offset, whatever is the Y offset, Y coordinate plus Y offset. Get X returns X of the rectangle, get Y returns Y of the rectangle, get side returns. You could return the width or height, it doesn't really matter. Setting the side, some of you missed checking for the new value of side to be greater than 0. So if it is greater than 0, you set the size to the new side. There are other methods also that you can use, but this is what I used. Return true, otherwise return false. Get area, get the height or width, doesn't matter because they are both the same. I have set them to be the same, so multiply these. That is the adapter. Any questions about the code? It is not enough to simply use X, Y, and side as fields because that is not using an adapter. This question is about an adapter, although I have given you some credit for doing it. That is not the intent of the question. It had to be using the adapter pattern. Now, before we get into the next question, I wanted to show you a way of testing this. And you will have to use this in this kind of an approach in your group project. How do I do that? This is a test of my square. Some of you who have had ICS 240 with me are probably familiar with this. Otherwise, it is time to learn this. This is a terrific way of testing your programs, much easier than putting system.out.println all over the place. Sometimes you have to put them, but in many cases you can ease your testing pain by writing test data like this. What am I doing? I create a my square object with 30 for X, 40 for Y, 10 for side, and I call it very inappropriately B1. It should have been something else, but anyway. Since the X value is 30 and Y value is 40, when I get the X coordinate, it should be equal to 30. So B1 dot get X should be equal to 30. That is for sure. Otherwise, there is something wrong with get X or something wrong with my constructor. One of the two for sure. So what I am saying is this condition must be true. If not, I have a bug in my implementation. So I write assert in front of this. Assert makes Java check this condition. Yeah, and if this condition is not true, the program crashes right there, throwing an exception. Assuming it gets past that, I check that the Y coordinate is now 40. Assert that. assert that one of the sides is 10, assert that the area should be 100. They should all be true, right, from this information. Then I shift the whole thing by 20, 30. Then the new value of X should be equal to 50. The new value of Y should be equal to 70. The side should not have been changed, so I assert that. And the area should still be 100. Then I shift by negative 50, negative 60. Then I know that X should now be 0, Y should be equal to 10, side and area should not be changed. Then I write assert, look at this now. Assert B1 dot set side, and I have put the bang symbol in front of this, see that? So I'm saying that B1 dot set side with 0 as the argument should be returning false. It should not change this side. So this is actually negating that Boolean. And so it goes for more testing. And how do I test it? I right click this, I click run as and choose run configurations. And I create a configuration for it. So it shows my square driver. Then I click the arguments and I should write.
You can't see the other window, Professor.
Oh, you can't. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I will. Sorry. I will go ahead and share the desktop. Okay. Now, coming back to that program. So I right click this, click run as, click run configurations, which you have seen in the second programming assignment. I click a run configuration for my square driver. I click on arguments and then I type in minus lowercase ea. What does it mean? This is an option for the Java runtime for the Java virtual machine. So it is an argument for the virtual machine. And I typed in minus EA saying EA stands for enable assertions. So assertions are now checked. Otherwise, normally Java doesn't check assertions because it is an overhead. So you have to make Java virtual machine check for the assertions explicitly by putting it as an argument while running the program. Apply and run. If there are no bugs anywhere, this will go through, I will get no output. On the other hand, suppose I had a bug. For example, suppose I forgot to put plus X offset. That's a bug. So let's see what happens now when I run my square driver. See, it crashed. It crashed in line 11, and line 11 says get X 50 is not right. That is because, of course, I don't know what the issue is. The issue could be one of several things. It could indeed even be a bug in my test. Test meaning this test code could be wrong, right? You can make a mistake anywhere. Maybe X was not supposed to be 50, but I know it is supposed to be 50. So it could be that getX is not working properly. It is possible that shift wasn't working properly. So for that is part of debugging. But what I am saying is this is no more painful than writing system.out.println and then printing the value of X. But it is far less taxing on you, because all you have to do is just run the program and see if there is a crash. If there is no crash, all the assertions went through, and you know that you are getting the output that you expected. You don't have to match the line numbers in these programs against displays in your console and spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes seeing whether they match. And then if you find a bug, you don't have to run this again and spend another 30 minutes. All you need to do is just run it and then see if you get a crash. There is absolutely no reason why one shouldn't use this. It is I mean, there are no negative aspects about using this. There is simply no reason, right, to not use this idea. So I highly recommend that you use it in all your Java programs, and I ask you to do that in your first group project. Okay, let me go ahead and fix this. Okay, and make sure that it is working correctly. Yeah, that's fine. Any questions about assertions? The other question was about creating the validator object, implementing the validator interface. And you need 3 fields for the minimum length, maximum length, and number of string and the string array. And you need 3 constructors. The second constructor and the third constructor both have to use the first constructor. So you have to make calls like this. And depending upon how you set up the fields for the second and third, you will probably have different code here. But anyway, this is my preferred way of doing things. Some of you put 0, maximum int. That is not quite what I would like. I don't want to depend on the Java minimum and maximum values. This is to my taste, this is better. When I write -1 and -1, I know that they are special values. There can never be anything that is any length that is equal to this value. So I prefer this kind of stuff, but then it requires a check like this. And I have a program that uses asserts to check all these things. And I used this to check your programs. It was much easier for me rather than using system.out.println and then matching your output against what is expected. I have put these 4 classes under the exams folder under content. My square driver, my validator, and my validator driver. All the 4 are available. So take a look at those. Any questions? The average for the exam is 75%. Okay. Now, tonight's or this week's topic is analysis, the use case model. So I hope all of you have watched the videos. And if you have any questions, you can ask them. Okay. Any questions at all about the exam? Okay, then before I get into the first group project and I also would like you to form the teams. Some of you informed me of your teams, at least two groups. Inform me of your teams. I would like all of you to form the teams this evening before we start the class exercises. But before we get into all that, I wanted to show you a video that I have posted that I received from the IT Center of Excellence. So let me go ahead and share that with you. Oops, this is the right. Okay. Let me go ahead and share the desktop. Maybe. Can you see a screen that says Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence at all?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, thank you.
The Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence has developed a collection of D2L modules and associated digital badges to help learners practice and hone their career readiness skills. Now you might be asking, what are career readiness skills? Essentially, they're the non-technical skills or soft skills that help you interact with other people. Many of us have these skills already, but may not have good definitions of them, nor understand which skills employers are looking for. At Minnesota State, we like to define career readiness as the attainment and demonstration of skills that broadly prepare people for a successful transition into the workplace. Within Minnesota State, we've defined these 8 skills to encompass career readiness. Why are career readiness skills important? For one, most employers look for these skills on resumes. In a survey of 172 employers, it was found that the skills they're looking for the most on resumes are communications, problem solving, initiative, and teamwork. Another reason they're important is because employers feel they are essential to on-the-job success. Again, from the survey, skills considered almost absolutely essential are the same ones being looked for on resumes. In response to employers' needs, the IT Center of Excellence developed the career readiness modules to help learners understand, practice, and be assessed on these 8 important skills. So what's in each module? Each career readiness module has 4 to 5 learning objectives. Across the learning objectives, learners will read articles and watch short videos that help them better understand particular career readiness skills. Learners will complete quizzes, writing and video assignments for their instructor to grade, and at times will be asked to work with a partner or in a small group. At the end of each module, a final case study quiz is presented, simulating an actual workplace scenario where learners will answer a series of multiple choice questions tied to the learning objectives of the module. Based on past experience of instructors, learners can anticipate putting in 8 to 10 hours of work to complete a module. Along with the career readiness modules, the IT Center of Excellence also offers digital badges for each of the modules. For those of you not familiar with digital badges, also known as micro-credentials, a badge is a digital representation of an educational achievement in a specific topic area, indicating accomplishment or a skill. Learners use their badges to stand out with employers and can display their badges on social media and Facebook, and can showcase them on their resumes. How can a learner earn a badge? For one, the learner must successfully complete the work in a career readiness module, which includes finishing 4 to 5 experience or reflection exercises, 4 to 5 assessments, and 1 final case study. Besides the module work, each learner is expected to complete a 360-degree assessment of their career readiness skills which means asking some peers to evaluate their skills, identifying existing strengths and areas for growth. Note that to perform the 360-degree assessment, learners and their peers will use an online app called Checkster. How will you claim and display your badge? Minnesota State uses an app called Credly Acclaim for learners to display their badges, which is free for learners and employers to use, and is utilized by thousands of higher education institutions and companies. Your instructor will issue your badge using Credly Acclaim, which will then trigger an email alerting you to go and claim your badge. If this is your first badge, you will set up a free account and profile on Credly Acclaim, and then the badge is displayed on your profile. Here is an example of what the collaboration badge would look like in Credly Acclaim, which is what employers would see if you shared the link to your badge with them on LinkedIn, or in an email, or on your resume. Now you may be wondering, just what do employers think about these badges? Well, the Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence talked to technical recruiters from some of the state's largest employers in retail, healthcare, and software development to ask them their opinions. What came back often was that recruiters feel badges will differentiate candidates and can act as a signal of a candidate going out of their way to improve their skills. Recruiters also feel that the badges give candidates something to talk about in an interview, enabling another way for someone to differentiate themselves from the crowd. We hope this presentation has helped you understand the career readiness modules and badges better, and that you're eager to dive into the work and improve your skills. For more information about the modules and badges, visit our website, minstateitcoe.org.
All right. So as that video said, these badges give the employers an impression that you have gone out of your way to get some skills that are critical to the workplace. And also, it is a differentiator when you have two resumes that otherwise look pretty much the same. If one has a badge, that would definitely be an advantage. So it is important to be showing potential employers your intention to do better in everything, not just technical aspects, but also these soft skills. Okay, now your first group project, there are only two group projects. The first group project is out. Let me spend maybe a few minutes on that. So the first group project is under content, under group projects. I have uploaded it, I think. So it is due on November 6th. It looks like it is more than a month away. Of course it is, but time flies, okay? And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the problem. I've tried to make it as simple as I can without sacrificing important lessons. For example, some of these have very few, some of the objects here will have very few attributes, but that doesn't really detract from the learning process. So there are a number of use cases that you need to come up with, although you don't have to submit all of them. So you need to analyze the system, and while analyzing, you might have questions, and I am your client, so you can ask me what I want, what I am looking forward to. And then you need to design an interface and the business logic and implement it. And one thing that you need to do not forget, while implementing is to create a test bed that uses asserts. So go through this to see what is asked. And you need to submit 2 documents. One is for the analysis and design. It should be a PDF document. I will not accept Excel spreadsheets or Word or picture files, none of that. They have to be a single PDF document. And that contains all the things that are related to analysis and design. I am asking you to submit only 6 use cases and 6 sequence diagrams and a conceptual class diagram and a physical class diagram. And you should also submit your implementation, which should be an Eclipse Java project. Okay, and the grading criteria are given in this document. So go through this document carefully, and I will be meeting with each group every week during this class time. So from today onwards, I want to assign groups to the breakout rooms based on your groups as you have formed them for your class projects. Now what I want to do next is have you formed the groups. I have been told of 2 groups. So this is the time for you to communicate among yourselves and form the groups. I'm going to invite any questions about the group project or anything else. And once that question answer session is over, I will stop recording and then wait for you to form the groups. So are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So per the analysis and design, so when we do our use cases, we're supposed to walk through the documentation in order to create the conceptual class, as you're saying, look at the nouns, pick up all the nouns. You might have to do several iterations of that list and cross out some things or combine some things in order to mix those classes. But in one of the cases there was, you use a class called borrow and holds. And I guess the book does too. And my question is, those are verbs. So it's almost like it's using the dynamic form of that analysis. How will we know that we've gotten to that point where we need to create these subclasses to reflect that in our design?
Okay, we haven't reached a design yet, so we will be going over that. All the relationships will eventually result in fields or sometimes in classes. So you mentioned borrows and holds. So we will look at both of those relationships between members and books and see what is the best way to represent each relationship. And we will, borrows is actually a one-to-many relationship, and that we will implement simply by using some fields. But holds is a many-to-many relationship, and it has an attribute, and it is very hard to do that without an additional class. And we will have a class called hold, which is going to relate the book and the member, meaning this member is holding a book, and the corresponding validity period. Although it is what I'm trying to say is, although they are relationships, we will be representing one of them as a class and the other one using fields of other classes. In this case, they would be actually fields of book and member.
Yeah, it's easier to pick up the nouns it's not easier to identify like in the long term that you need those other sub relationships. Like
Right. Yeah. That one has to be look for that. One has to be looking at the use cases and see what is going on between the conceptual classes that you identified. It is not as straightforward, right? In fact, even the coming up with the conceptual classes itself, you can do all the nouns, but then really eliminating some of them and identifying some of them as synonyms, and then saying, okay, these are attributes, etc. They are not trivial, but you are correct. Coming up with the relationships is even more involved. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the when we were pulling out the nouns. I saw we pulled out request, and I think that was the only one in the book that wasn't a noun.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay. That was probably an oversight. Yeah. Unless it was used as a verb in the book, I mean, in the use case. I don't think it was makes a request. I think it doesn't. I don't know whether it came as requests or make a request. If it comes as makes a request or something, then if it is obviously a noun. Otherwise, it is an oversight. Yeah.
Okay.
Good point. Anything else you can think of? Okay. Unfortunately, we are in a distributed environment here on Zoom. I don't know how easy it would be for us to form the groups here, but we have to. Okay, I'm getting more notifications here. Two of you having a group formed, or maybe. Okay, I'm beginning to get. Okay. I'm seeing some people forming groups. I'm getting private messages. So I think I have about 14 people in groups. One of you sent me a message with 2 of you in a group. You need to get another 2 people. Okay, I'm seeing 3 people in that group. That's okay. This looks like a running commentary or something. Okay, I need to actually keep a count, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't know when to quit. Let me start writing down stuff here. So I have seen only 7 people respond this evening, and I have had 8 people already in 2 groups. So that is only accounting for 15 of the 30 people, and a couple of, at least one student is not coming this evening because of some issue. I will have to put them in a different, in some group that I choose, I suppose. It's a real puzzle as to how to go about. Let me go ahead and stop recording here.